Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
And I'm Peter, also known as Mono White Border.
You got a new set, Edge of Eternities, Outer Space,
Mm-hmm.
Magic. Kind of, it's still got a lot of tropey fantasy stuff, but also spaceships.
Yeah, we got more aliens and...
Yeah. Kavu are back.
Kavu are aliens now? Is that right?
Yeah.
Or is it just Kavu World?
Kavu people. Yeah, Cavaron, the planet that they dug too deep and broke their own planet open and inadvertently caused a black hole.
Classic goofy sci-fi.
Oh, you rascals.
Yeah.
Well, we're not talking about the set in general today. We're using Edge of Eternities to talk about draft archetypes. Draft archetypes are kind of traditionally the two-color pair, like there are 10 of them, blue-white and black-green and whatever else. 10 of these in the set that is now like a part of at least what Wizards advertises for their draft formats, and also a really common thing for custom Magic designers to use to like go from the first drafts of their set into something that might be playable and draftable. What are 10 different goals you could give your drafters? So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to break down each of the 10 archetypes in Edge of Eternities. We've got 3 categories here just to kind of, assign some scores, kind of a final verdict for each of these things. One of those is going to be excitement. Is this an exciting draft archetype? Is this novel? Is it letting us do something we don't normally get to do? Is this, using a mechanic in a brand new way? Accuracy. Does it seem like this draft archetype will actually work? Will you actually be doing this? And then last, synergy. Does playing this archetype seem like it's going to make a bunch of like cards that aren't that good apart really good together? If I have a bunch of cards that all care about, if I've dealt damage to my opponent this turn, well, I might have a couple different ways to do that. And then I might have a bunch of cards that are bad in control decks because my control decks aren't going to be hitting my opponent. But my aggro deck or my deck that has all these special cards tap to deal 1 damage to the opponent, that becomes awesome in my deck and awful in everybody else's deck. So excitement, accuracy, synergy. Those are our 3 categories.
Yeah, and we're going to rank each one of those. We do 1 to 5. A 5 or a 1 doesn't necessarily mean that a design is good or bad. It's kind of just giving us context for the overall set. 5 in excitement, but a 1 in accuracy. Well, that might appeal to some players who like the dream of, getting all of the alien typo cards one time, but it might not appeal to a Spike who's looking for just the best strategy for a consistent draft success.
Like a classic Storm deck might be really high on excitement, high on synergy, and really hard to actually execute. So it might not actually be what you get to do every draft.
And we expect that a lot of these archetypes are going to be varied scores. You wouldn't want 5s all the way across the board, or, it might be boring, or it might be hard to get into one color. It would make maybe each draft archetype or each draft set would lose a little bit of its character,
Yeah, and I guess the other piece that sort of counterbalances draft archetypes is just like having a draft set where you just have to look at your individual cards and figure out which ones are actually good in the deck you happen to be drafting. Independent of what other people are telling you is the good thing to do with that color pair. Like kind of classically, like some drafters, especially like high power cube drafters, they don't want there to be like really prescribed archetypes. They prefer it to be really open.
Yeah.
I think I'm usually on the other end. Like I really like loud archetypes that like make me do something really different with that given set. And so I value that novelty. I value the being told what to do and whether or not I can actually execute it.
Yeah, I recently learned that like some people didn't like Bloomburrow because it felt too on the rails as far as draft archetypes go. And I really love Bloomburrow because like as someone who drafts consistently but like only drafts in sets that speak to me, like, and so I'll go 1 or 2 sets not drafting and 1 set drafting.
Yeah.
Like having those rails helps me as a drafter more so and makes those draft formats more enjoyable.
Yeah. On most retail sets, I'll probably draft at least 10 times, and then I'll maybe get up to 20, 25 times. Like Final Fantasy that just came out, I probably drafted that 25 times. And even then, it was hard to exhaust the archetypes, even though the archetypes are often pretty railroady. Like there was this archetype, like blue-white artifacts. If it wasn't an artifact, it wasn't good with your other cards. There's like cast non-creature spells that cost 4 or more. That was a blue-red archetype that seemed like it was not going to be very feasible, but it's really just like if you do draft those cards, if you do put that together, it actually functions really well. Like that's part of the gambling of draft. Will I see enough cards? Am I competing with people? Do I have to bail on this whole archetype and switch one of my colors out? That's something that I tend to enjoy, and it can be done really successfully as well.
Yeah, I drafted Final Fantasy one time.
Yeah.
I drafted the blue green deck, which I'm someone who's usually pretty bad at figuring out like what I'm supposed to be doing if I don't read the archetype descriptions. And the blue green one, so you can tell me right now if I was wrong. The blue green archetype was just like land ramp, right?
With towns, have some of them say town.
See, I had like one town in my deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Missed on the towns, but like I was
Yeah.
just putting a bunch of lands into play.
I think that blue green example is a good one because in Final Fantasy, like you can just play a bunch of cards that are good together in blue and green that just like get you to high amounts of mana. There's like basic land cyclers so that you can have big, you can have 8 big drops in your deck because 4 of them you can get rid of early. But if you are able to draft the town deck, like you could play 3 mana draw 4s, things that are like really quite powerful, like the Omega, which is this big creature that taps a creature and then stuns it for a number of turns equal to the number of towns you have. That's like a passable card in just the vanilla Simic deck, but is like basically like a removal spell in the towns deck.
Yeah. My first pick was that like summon that bounces all of the non-octopuses and leviathans, and then I had the other blue card that flickers something on your end step. So I just did that forever and just like locked people out of the game.
All right, there we go.
So I don't necessarily recommend drafting with I'll just always draw my rares in mind, which is what I've been doing the last couple of times I drafted. But if you get some fun combos, it's a good time.
And like you're talking about with Bloomburrow, like Bloomburrow had these sort of like pick an animal, get as many of that animal as you can,
Right.
and then each of those animals had a play style. Like when we were reading those draft archetypes, they were kind of prescriptive, right? Like or and even a little bit generic. Hey, have some stuff in your graveyard and eat some food. Okay, cool. And so one of the things that we have to try to decode when we're looking at these cards and when drafters are looking at any set, when they're drafting a set for the first time, your custom cube, something else, they have to figure out like, is there some spicy thing I'm supposed to do here, or am I just getting a bunch of cards that work together? So we'll see where the Edge of Eternities comes out.
Another important note we always try and make is this episode is a zero data zone. So we're going in blind. We're just looking at the cards. We're looking at the description and more thinking from a like, as a player approaching this, not what the best strategy is, but how are these cards like kind of, what's my reaction to them?
Yeah. Part of what we're trying to train up and really get good at is like, if I made my own custom set, my cool cube or whatever, and a lot of people will print out little archetype cards or other things to help drafters with their custom stuff. Like, what's the chance that I'm going to read that card, read that little guide, and say, oh, here's a cool thing to do? Like, oh, I understand this. Oh, I might be able to use this information and draft around it. And then also when I see gold cards, what's the chance that gold card can tell me to do something that is going to be fun and going to be achievable?
Which is extremely useful because most people are coming to your custom Magic drafts with literally no knowledge of your set. So this is kind of a crucial step for a lot of custom Magic designers.
So let's get into our archetypes. We do allied colors, then enemy colors. So we're going to start off with blue-white, and that's going to be second spell. I'm reading this right off of Wizard's sheet here. Cast your second spell in a turn and earn additional bonuses to overwhelm your opponent. Second spell is a difficult thing to do typically. In Magic, if you're double spelling, you're usually winning anyhow. You're playing your like 2-drop removal spell and a 3-drop on turn 5. You're getting ahead anyhow. You don't need other cards to tell you to do that.
Yeah, this is something that we've seen done before with Flurry and Khans of Tarkir. And we've seen a lot more in blue-red than white-blue. But like,
Thunder Junction.
You kind of would expect to see some like discounts. If the discount stuff and the ways to get your second spell online quicker are good, then a lot of times this archetype is good.
Yeah, and maybe part of what we're trying to do with blue white instead of blue red is like I'm going to play a creature and a spell, or
Hmm.
two creatures. I'm going to be a little bit more of that white weenie lifestyle than like I'm going to do all the tricky is it stuff. There's a unique factor in Edge of Eternities, which is the warp mechanic.
Hmm.
So one example of a warp common might be Night Luminary, which is a 4 mana 3/2. When it enters, create a 1/1. So 4 mana 3/3 that brings along a 1/1. And then it also has warp for 1 and a white. And if I pay 1 and a white instead of 3 and a white, I cast this card for its warp cost. The creature goes away at end of turn, but can be cast again in a later turn.
Hmm.
So I sort of get the ETB of this creature. I get a 1/1 for 1 and a white, and I have cast the spell. So I can maybe warp two cards in the same turn. And that's how I'm managing to double spell. I don't have all cheap cards in my deck. It's hard to draft all cheap cards. But instead, I could play just a whole variety of warp cards, and those warp costs are cheap enough that I can trigger double spell one or two or three more times than I normally could in a draft game.
And then later on, you still have those cards, and you still get the full
Hmm.
impact of the actual card itself later in the game. So that can help you double spell late still too. You don't run out of cards.
Yeah, when I have 7 mana, now I can cast my two exiled cards, one of which costs 2 and one of which costs 4 or whatever.
Mhm. So the gold card for this archetype is Station Monitor, white blue for a 2/2, Lizard Artificer. When you cast your second spell each turn, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying in. This token can only block creatures with flying.
Hmm.
So 2 mana 2/2 for gold.
Mm-hmm.
That when you cast your second spell, you get a 1/1. I feel like this is like the go-to blue white uncommon recently.
A flyer? Yeah.
Yeah. But also you get to have a token, right? Like do the thing we're
Mm.
asking you to do,
Yeah.
we'll give you a token.
Yeah. Yeah. We were making gremlins and Dustmorn, I
Yep.
remember, with that gold card. Yeah.
Hmm.
You're right. And this is a reasonable payoff. And, a 1/1 that's not very good at blocking, that means it's probably meant for attacking. And so we're probably saying, hey, we want to get ahead. We want to generate one or two of these drones early, and then those drones are going to hit for a damage each for the whole rest of the game. Or at least that's our hope. It's a token that's not good enough to want to fire a removal spell at it. So it's like this advantage that I'm accruing as I double spell multiple times here. Um, yeah, why don't we get into our ratings?
All right. I am a sucker for the blue white make a token archetype. So this one's probably a 3 for me, is just as far as like
Hmm.
excitement. Usually something new is going to be more exciting to me than something that we've seen
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
And so mostly it's the fact that I kind of like the Arcoon here that gets me up to a
Hmm.
3.
If I know Warp is in the set, I'm much more excited. With Warp, I feel like as long as there are enough Warp cards, this sounds like a fun thing that's going to be possible, and like I'm going to get paid off playing a bunch of cards that I wouldn't normally play.
I have very little knowledge of this set going into it.
Hmm.
I did not know what Warp did when you brought it up.
Oh, okay,
And this card makes no reference to Warp. It doesn't
that's
have
true.
Warp itself. So like
Yeah,
it's just interesting to kind of think about. If you hadn't brought it up specifically to me, I would be like, okay, so I just have to like cast a cantrip and then a creature and then I get
yeah,
to get
yeah.
my thing.
That's an interesting point. How neither the description of the archetype nor the gold card tells you the point of the archetype.
Yeah, they don't clue you in into like you
Yeah,
can do this now because we are doing
yeah,
this thing in the set.
yeah. I'll go 3 because I do have some excitement because I do know what warp is. In terms of accuracy, will this actually work? I guess this this also kind of hinges on whether you know what warp is.
So even if you don't know that Warp is in the set,
Yeah.
the goal of most limited decks is to cast 2 spells a turn first,
Hmm.
right? So in that way, there is some accuracy to this. I mean, maybe a 3 or a 4. I wouldn't say it's a straight 5, because there is some implications that you're going to cast 2 spells quicker, but maybe a 3 or a 4 here for me, just because second spells happen a lot.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect me to get in a normal set without warp. me to get more than one drone off of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Um,
seems reasonable. Your fifth or sixth turn is when you're hoping to cast your 2 spells,
yeah.
right?
And this guy's a little bit of a liability until you start using its ability.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I'll say 3 again. And then synergy. This does make specific cards a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not playing this card unless I'm doing that archetype. Like I might be a blue-white deck that doesn't play this card if I
Mm-hmm.
can't get those cards. If I have 2 of these and 10 warp cards, I feel like I'm unkillable.
Yeah, and you're suddenly like valuing a cantrip here, there. You're suddenly valuing the things that randomly make something cost 1 less.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You're gonna be valuing cards that you play on your turn more. So I think this is driving you in a specific direction.
yeah. I think pretty strongly as well.
Mm-hmm.
I
Think we
close to a 5 on this.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm fine putting it at 5.
All right.
The
All right.
next archetype is blue black artifact control.
Hmm.
Assemble an artifact based deck to grind out your opponent's resources turn by turn.
All right.
Another archetype we've heard about before in blue black. So
Yeah, speaking of Duskmorn or Aether Drift.
um,
Aether Drift had the
Aether Drift. I thought Duskmorn also had this, right? No, it was the like doll racing car guys in the evil toy
yeah,
racers.
they were they're Duskmorn themed, but they were in Aether
Yeah.
Drift. Yeah. Yeah, assemble an artifact-based deck to grind out your opponent's resources turn by turn. So I'm gonna have ways like sacrifice an artifact, get back a creature from your graveyard, or
Opponent loses life for each artifact you control. Every
yeah,
time
this
an
feels
artifact dies.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe we'll look at the card here and see if it gives us any info. So we got Alpha Rail, one of the protagonists of the story, Dreaming Acolyte. It's 1 blue black, 2/3. Legendary creature, human cleric, 3 mana, 2/3. We just had Lock in Final Fantasy. It seems kind of like this. When Alpha Rail enters, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an artifact card. Then during your turn, Alpha Rail has Death Touch. This is very much like Lock from Final Fantasy. Lock was
Cool.
like Death Touch and looted. Alpha Rail kind of copied the homework there.
I'm just thinking this is very Dune coded artwork.
Yeah, he's one of the monoists. So these are the people who are like sworn to make black holes go faster.
I swear every time we do one of these episodes, you remind me that I should really read the Magic story because like when the
Oh,
set is something I like, then the Magic
yeah.
story is cool.
Yeah.
When it's something like and I'm into like over the top goofy like 90s science fiction, which this is
Mhm.
giving me a lot of over the top 90s science fiction vibes.
Um, but yeah, so artifact wise, this is I get to draw 2, discard 2, which is not awesome. But I
Nope.
can instead discard an artifact, which I would normally think is one of the things I want to discard the least. Um,
Yeah, if you have something similar to Final Fantasy where it's like, I'm drafting more artifacts because my artifacts are creatures, or the
that's
other
true.
thing I'm thinking is like maybe my artifacts exile from the graveyard to do an effect or something.
Yeah, I
That
guess
could
it
that could
it
make it
doesn't
work.
tell me we're doing like artifact reanimator or something like that, which I could
Mhm.
see being Alpha Rail being pointed at like a reanimator thing.
It is nice that when you do discard an artifact, this card's like pretty good.
Yeah. Having Death Touch on your turn does not help with my artifact control lifestyle.
Yeah, I'm like that means this guy's aggressively attacking.
Yeah. That seems pretty blank in a control deck.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I need to tunnel through my deck to find my choice cards. And I'm assuming my green white opponent won't have that kind of filtering, and that's how I'm going to come out on top. Yeah, excitement. How are we feeling about artifact control?
I really feel like Aether Drift, they just did this though. The word grindy is always going to be in the blue black artifact description.
Rip.
The thing that excites me about this card is playing a 3 mana 2/3 that potentially draws 2, discards 1. is kind of cool. I'm kind of into that specific action. So that for me, that bumps it up to a 2.
Like Aether Drift called it like artifact bleeder, which I thought was a little cooler, a little spicier. Like, hey, I'm gonna deal 1 damage many, many times to my opponent using
Yeah.
artifacts. And here it's just they're gonna make me win eventually.
It is funny how much the archetype card doesn't signal to you how you have won the game. Like the blue white card, I have won because I cast a bunch of spells and then had a bunch of 1/1s for free.
Yeah.
This one does not, like, I won because I attacked with a 2/3 and you refused to block it because it had death touch.
Yeah, yeah. I called up the Aether Drift card just to compare. And there it's like overwhelmed by your racing robot army. Scare your opponents silly with robots and possessed toys. Like it was so flavor blasted, whereas this is like,
I think they're trying to lean into that like sci-fi novel where it's like 800 pages of just like the driest descriptions you've ever read of like and exactly how the photon laser motor of the spaceship works so that you have that information in your head.
the story for Edge of Eternity is kind of funny because it's phrased or it's presented a little bit like a choose your own adventure. Like it'll
Mhm.
often have 2 links and then you can do one or the other. You can still just scroll the whole story if you want to, but sometimes it'll be like, oh, chase after the cat or read the flight log. And if you read the flight log, it's just like, well, I'm eventually going to get to the chase the cat part anyhow. But if I want to read 8 paragraphs of flight log, I can do that.
Oh yeah. The
uh,
that's like the classic RPG motif of like,
yeah.
oh, I can read every book in Morrowind and
Yeah.
there's no benefit to it, but it's the only way I'm going to get all this information, so
I found myself skimming the things like flight logs. uh, all right. Yeah, I think 2.
you can go 1. We started talking about it.
I'm pretty close to 1.
The
Yeah.
the thing is so boring we started talking about flight logs. I mean, come
All right.
on.
Accuracy. Do I think I'm going to be doing this? I could be convinced. How do I control a long game? Well, these spaceships seem slow. I have to station them over a long period of time. Yeah, I could believe
Something
it.
you said that resonated with me was like, how often do I want to discard my artifact?
Hmm.
Especially like if it's a non-creature artifact, that means I'm probably putting it in my deck because it's like good, right? So I'm thinking like a 3.
I feel good about a 4 for me personally. Like,
Okay.
do I expect that there's going to be like robots in the set? Yeah, I do.
Mhm.
I think there are going to be robots in the set. Do I think some of those might be like blue or black mana? Actually, yeah. It's not like a regular set where, there's 5 artifact creatures and almost all of them are colorless. They're going to be
Yeah.
colorful cards. And blue robots, like that just makes so much sense.
Mhm.
Synergy, this kind of remains to be seen for me. I can imagine that, like in Aether Drift, you wanted a lot of artifacts so that your gold
Right.
card hits super hard. And I guess with Alpha Rail, if I have 11 artifacts in my deck. Some of them are conditional. Some of them are like cheap little guys that aren't that good, and some of them are giant big guys that aren't that good early. I can imagine discarding an artifact here and there. So it's not a 1 for me, but I don't know how
Yeah,
much higher I should go.
it's definitely not a 1. How many more artifacts am I playing that I wouldn't play otherwise?
Yeah,
I'm playing artifact creatures, but I'm probably playing them because they're creatures. I'm playing the stations, like maybe a station or 2 because it's got some good effect on it.
mm. Yeah. With the station monitor, the blue white card, that's a card that I do not want to play unless I'm playing this archetype.
Exactly.
With Alpha Rail, any blue black deck will probably play Alpha Rail. And then the upside, if you are playing the deck, is not very high. 1 or a 2 for me.
I'm going 2. Well, okay, red black's archetype is void. Use the void mechanic at the cost of creatures and artifacts, then trigger devastating effects.
Do you know what Void does?
I'm gonna take a guess here based on the description. So, void, I feel like it should like work in the exile zone. So I'm gonna say you have to like exile a creature artifact, and
Hmm.
it's like a kicker effect.
Yeah, it's kind of a cousin of Morbid. So here, let me get one of these cards.
Okay. Is it does it trigger when you exile a creature artifact? So when you like pay warp, you get to void.
Exiling is involved, but it's not the only way to do it.
Okay, I'm ready.
So one of them here, Hymn of the Faller, surveil one, then draw a card and lose 1 life for 1 and a black.
Okay.
And then it has Void. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, draw another card.
Got it. Juiced Revolt.
Yeah, Revolt, Morbid. It's in that zone. It doesn't work with lands, but it does work with Warp.
Got it.
So we need our guys to die. We need to be sacrificing our guys or anybody's guys. It's not only your permanents. You can use a kill spell and that will set up Void.
Oh, okay, yeah, because Revolt is a permanent you control, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is pretty. I was gonna ask, like, what do you think about them, like, slightly tweaking mechanics just so it fits into the theme of the set? So, like, let's compare this maybe to Morbid more so. I think that's probably a better comparison. How do you feel about, like, they look at Morbid, they're like, oh, that kind of is what we want for this set. But Morbid is not a good space theme, so let's just alter it a little bit and get more of a space theme on that.
Using just Morbid in this set seems like a big problem because you have
Yeah.
Warp. This feels like a mechanic you put in because it already works with things that are already in the set rather than something that you are like in your initial pitch.
Yeah.
You propose. And because of that, I would think that, oh yeah, these Void cards, yeah, they're only in these 2 colors. They don't exist elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Void, what are the things that make Void fun to do? I guess Void might let my spells be a little bit cheaper. I might get like a kicker effect, like you said, if I can set up Void. It's like red, black sack with like another name. It means that like the Void cards. So we already saw blue, white wants Warp.
Mm-hmm.
And then a totally different pair of colors, black, red, probably also wants Warp because Warp is like premium for setting this up because I get to just warp the card and guarantee Void. And then when my Warp creature dies on a future turn, that's also Void.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Warp is just one of those things that's going to appear in all 5 colors, right? Like, it's just such a good...
Yeah.
Like, it's like Adventure, where it's just like, people like, getting 2 cards on a card. People like ETBs. Creatures are important. So I expect Warp to be all over the place.
Yeah, maybe that kind of density.
It's kind of interesting. This is very Dragonstorm coded in the fact that, like, I feel like a lot of the mechanics can be easily connected back to a previous mechanic. Void, Warp, and then they just juiced it up so they can add like you said, so they can add complexity elsewhere. Anyway, just an interesting note.
Yeah, and there aren't really that many mechanics in this set. I guess Station is maybe the closest to like a real hammer marquee thing, which we'll get into a little bit later. But even that is sort of vehicles, but different. So Void. We've got Interceptor Mechan. It's 2 black red for a 2/2 artifact creature robot at uncommon. 4 mana 2/2 flyer. When it enters, return target artifact or creature from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, we got a Gravedigger. That's pretty good.
Great.
And then it also has Void. At the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature.
Whoa.
I feel like that's all gravy. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that is a good ability as well, but I'm already just like a flying Gravedigger is already like a pretty solid card.
4 mana 2/2 that gets you a card and is evasive is great. And then, like, this can also just win you the game potentially. Like, I can be swinging with a 4/4, a 5/5 if I get my engine going. Cool.
Yeah, I guess the Gravedigger deck normally is going to be like kind of Golgari style. Like, hey, I want the slowest deck possible so that I can Gravedigger as many times as possible. But this Mechan says, hey, bro, don't worry. I'll end the game before you need to worry about that. And your opponent's going to feel real bad firing a removal spell off at a Gravedigger. So you got kind of the best of all worlds with this card.
Yeah. I'm thinking the excitement factor is going to be boosted way up because that card is like actively good. Like, that card feels first pickable, right?
Yeah, I would really like to play this card.
So I'm thinking a 5 here for excitement.
Am I excited to play this card? Absolutely. This probably doesn't beat like the top 25 rares or whatever.
No. But if you open a crappy rare and you get this uncommon, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, this is worth risking my first pick on a gold card. Yeah.
Yep.
But if I get 2 of these, that's very exciting. Because they could pick each other up too, even. Self-synergistic. Yeah, excitement. Void, I guess another one because of warp, I feel like is more exciting than it would be otherwise, like the double spell thing. If it weren't for warp, morbid by itself would not be that exciting a theme to me. But
Hmm.
this card really makes me want to do void, and also like morbid was not really a whole theme last time it showed up. Revolt was only kind
Hmm.
of barely a deck. Maybe they got it right this time. Maybe I actually can play the morbid dream. I'm not a 5, but yeah, give me a 4 just because this card is
What if
dope.
I pitch this to you? So
Yeah,
you're on turn 4, and you send the team
yeah.
because you got this guy in your hand. You
Mhm.
attack in, and they block one of your dudes, and it dies. But then you
Yeah.
slam this guy, get that dude back, and then this guy gets a counter on your end step. So you got a 4-mana 3/3.
Oh yeah. I'm convinced on power level for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No further excitement though.
I
Excitement's
have
maxed out.
a little bit more. I feel like if they made a keyword for it and it's only in 2 colors, it's going to be drenched in void.
Yeah.
Accuracy, is this what you're going to be doing? Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Between warding and like losing creatures in combat and sacrificing something, I'm imagining that I'm triggering void, multiple times in a game with some ease.
yeah, the void effect of cards at least a couple times, yeah.
I think
4 or
I think I'm a 5.
5. Yeah.
I'm going for 5. If you want to go for 4, then we got our
Uh,
bases covered.
no, 5 is fine.
Nah, he's in. He's in. He's in.
Synergy, does this make other cards better? I guess, yeah. Any card where I'm like sacking my own creatures, I can trigger void more easily. This makes me want those warp cards that probably everybody's going to be fighting for now that now that we're talking about it.
Hmm.
You can kind of trigger morbid a lot otherwise. So it's not a 5 level synergy to me. I don't have to work really
Yeah.
hard. Like this card was good before the void text. This mechan was good before the void text. So it doesn't need any synergy to be good. Unlike the station monitor, which needs synergy to be good.
My thought here is that like if I draft this guy first and then the
Yeah.
rest of the draft I just draft all the best black and red cards I see,
Hmm.
then my deck is going to be good. I feel like. Like and this guy's going to be good regardless of that. Like
Regardless of whether I build towards it, is that what you're saying?
exactly. Like
Hmm.
I don't look for void on anything else. I don't look for any sacking stuff. I'm just like, "Oh, here's a good black red card."
Maybe like a 3 then. Like it is enhanced by synergy for sure, but
Yeah.
or do you want to go lower?
I'm thinking like maybe a 2.5.
You can't do 2.5. We're not
All right, I'll
gonna
go
start
3.
in
I'll go
decimals.
3. I'll respect the fact that like I am encouraged to pick up like self-sacrificing cards. It's weird because like normal black removal spell is also just like triggers void. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's tough. Void's a weird mechanic to think about
I
synergy.
guess if I'm stuck with a bunch of void cards, and I didn't do anything to enable them, will they still function? A lot of the times, yeah, they will still
Yeah.
function.
All right. Next is the green red archetype. Landers and landfall. Use lander tokens and landfall to create mana advantage. Landers can help trigger landfall more easily. Oh, thank you. That's great to know. I think landers are clues, but instead of drawing a card, you get a land onto the battlefield.
Yep, yep. 2-tap rampant growth.
And now I know that that can help trigger landfall. That's so. Thank you so much,
Yeah, yeah.
Wizards. I didn't think about the fact that the thing putting a land into play would trigger landfall.
Hmm. This is in the kind of the sticky zone of like, okay, this is a splashing mechanic. How good does it make a two-color archetype?
Hmm.
And if this were just red green landfall, I would be pretty skeptical. But landers and landfall means that it's like actually feasible to get 2 lands in the same turn to really go over the top, or to trigger it once per turn if that's what my goal is.
Yeah, and like I'm picturing a turn where like you've kind of set up your board, you've created like 2 or 3 lander tokens, and like you can just sink your extra mana into triggering some landfall.
Yeah, yeah.
Where clues are like, I have 6 lands, and now I get to crack my clue and get a new card, right?
Hmm.
Landers are, I have 6 lands, and now I get to sack my lander, and now I have 7 lands.
Hmm.
That's a little less appealing to me.
Yeah, they exist in a different phase of the game than clues do. Clues are like,
Hmm.
if I have my 3 clues stocked up, I just win the late game.
Yep.
Whereas these landers, they are hard to get early enough to super ramp you. So they kind of need to matter in like the turn 4, 5, 6 zone of like getting me over the hill to like lock in that I'm going to have 6, 7 mana and then become not very useful after that.
I'm thinking of it differently. Of that, like my my landfall triggers better be good enough that me having stockpiled these lander tokens is gonna push me over the top to win the game.
Yeah. The landers are interesting. Rampant Growth is a card that every commander deck wish they could put in their deck. Like
Yeah.
it's such a baseline nice thing. Like compared to 2 mana draw a card, which is not a card any deck really is trying to put in their deck.
Hmm.
The read of the token, if you just have it in your hand, is so good. But the usefulness of a lander token must be somewhat lower than a clue, I would say.
Yeah. So the gold card is Tanuki Memorial Ensign. 1 red green for a 2/4 legendary creature Kavu pilot. It has landfall whenever a land you control enters. It deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I kind of need to go lander mode in order to get that second thing.
Yeah, I want lander tokens because of the second ability now. Because it turns my landers into clues. And
Yeah.
Magic players love drawing cards.
Yeah, and 1 damage to each opponent. That's going to trigger. He comes out on turn 3, on turn 4, 5, 6, and 8 or whatever. I'm going to get 4 triggers out of this thing.
Hmm.
So I get a couple face damage, which probably brings this card back up to playable because 3 mana 2/4 is not
2/4 is
what a Gruul
bad.
deck is normally what we want to do.
Yep.
Um, and then so in any deck that plays this guy on turn 3, you're going to get your card. You're going to get your card's worth.
Hmm.
In the lander deck, or if I get to play a couple ramps like traditional ramp spells, I can refund basically every lander token is now a lander and a clue, a lander and a
Yep.
clue, sort of.
If the direction of this archetype is like, if this is the second time this ability is triggered on a lot of these landfall cards, that's pretty interesting to me. That's pretty exciting to me. Of like,
Hmm.
because it's a little bit of an evolution of like, landfall classically was the when I top deck a land, I'm excited kind of thing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, if I have a land, like I'm excited for a lander token because I can set up the 2 triggers, and that's kind of engaging
Hmm.
for me. I'm seeing the vision.
Yeah, yeah. Lander tokens have a risk of like because that window where they're naturally powerful, like in that turn 5-ish window, is pretty narrow. Like the landfall cards can I think still be quite strong in their text. Like we don't have to
Hmm.
water down the landfall cards because we want the landfall cards to basically be the backup for all the lander tokens. We want you to like be excited to have lander tokens on turn 3, and we also want you to be excited to have lander tokens on turn 9.
Hmm.
And landfall could potentially do that.
So what are you thinking excitement wise? For me, I think this is like the definition of a 4 for me, where like
Okay.
it
Yeah.
is it is something that like is engaging for me to do and is using a new mechanic.
Hmm.
Um and so that's where it's like,
Yeah.
but I'm
Okay.
not like over the top of like, oh, this is going to be super strong or anything,
Yeah.
or this is going to be crazy powerful.
It uses a sets mechanic in a way that other people in the format will not likely get to use it.
Hmm.
Like there will be the 3 or 4 color like soupy lander decks, which is fine. But I'm going to use lander decks. I'm going to use lander tokens to do a cool thing that I only get to do in Edge of Eternities. Um, like regular landfall in Gruul would be a 1 for me, like without like set support. Like
Yep.
landfall is just not that exciting anymore. And landers by themselves, if it was just a lander archetype, whenever you create a lander, that feels too weird. But this
Exactly.
mixture of the two, yeah, hits a 4
Hmm.
for me. And accuracy, I think that's pretty close to a 4 as well.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. There's just like a little concern about like how often are you getting your lander tokens? How often is that lining up to get this like double trigger?
Yeah.
Um,
I think my questions are like, are there 3 or 4 landfall commons that are good enough that
mhm.
are not like watered down?
Are you? I think there's some concern of like how much are you fighting for these lander things? Of like
Yeah.
if there's somebody playing this like 5-color soup deck.
Yeah, that's the danger of like, hey, what's a cool, appealing, naturally powerful mechanic in the set? I want to
Mhm.
draft a ton of those. Wait, I can't because everyone's drafting the naturally good cards.
Yep.
Synergy. This is an interesting one. Does this
Yeah.
make cards better? The landfall cards have a baseline usefulness,
Mhm.
but typically not that high. Zendikar kind of left this outsized memory of like the landfall 2/2 that, or the 2 mana landfall creature that gets +2/+2, like
Yep.
that just goes nuclear all the time. But that is not the majority of landfall cards that have been printed. Most
Mhm.
of them have been pretty low impact. Um, so actually making landfall work as a draft archetype, that requires some work. That is not a naturally occurring thing. Am I going to be playing cards that I wouldn't otherwise play? What cards am I not going to play because I'm playing the land? It feels synergistic, but I can't justify why.
Well, I think just like a if I'm cracking a lander token on its own turn 5, then that doesn't feel good. Right. And like just I'm
Hmm,
getting the extra land. That doesn't
yeah.
feel great. It feels fine. Like I'm using the resource, right? Versus like, but landers are really good in the early game. So like if I'm on turn 3 and I'm cracking a lander token, I'm getting up to turn 5 next
Yeah.
turn,
Yeah.
then that's really great. That's fantastic. So that's where it's weird. Is like some of the amount of time I'm just gonna feel super synergistic of like, oh, I'm cracking all my landers, I'm drawing a card, I'm dealing 2 damage to you. And then another amount of the time I'm gonna be like, I'm casting my 7-drop because I cracked a bunch of landers. And that's I think where the weirdness comes in. So maybe this is a classic 3 of just like half the time it's really high synergy,
Hmm.
half the time it's not.
It does make cards better. I would say high. I'm going for it, I think.
All right,
Because
4s across the board.
this feels like it's making lander tokens good at any phase of the game. Yeah.
I feel like I have a plan for all of my landers in this deck. I feel like
Hmm.
the turn where I'm like, I'm not going to crack my lander this turn, I'm going to crack it next turn because I'm going to get this trigger is way
Eh,
higher.
okay, yeah. And so I need to time them right.
I'm holding on to my lands to play them at different times.
Yeah, yeah. If there's an evolving wilds that like gets pretty good for me, even if I'm only 2 colors.
You want to finish out the allied color pairs?
Let's do it. We've got green white with +1/+1 counters. Boost your entire army with +1/+1 counters. Stack them up and watch the enemies fall. Uh-oh.
Yeah, all the times that I've not used the full 6-sided dice, I've actually stacked up +1/+1s onto my guy.
I use Lego bricks as my +1/+1 counters. This is typically an unsuccessful archetype that is also not that interesting.
hmm
So my excitement is, I would say, 1 for this.
Well, let's read
Or
the card at least, Tim. Come on, give it the
we
card.
haven't read the card yet. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like maybe there are some warp cards that warp some counters onto people, but like
I
stationing doesn't really. There's no like proliferate or whatever to make counters better. So there's nothing
yeah,
else in the set that makes this a thing
I
that
think
I
there
can
is like something that happens when you're making your set is that like we have 10 archetype pairs usually,
Yeah.
but it's hard to get a mechanical suite that is going to generate for you 10 distinct archetypes that all like plug into
Hmm.
that mechanical suite.
Hmm.
So like I can give some grace that like sometimes you just got to have like green white is the go tall aggro
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
And so like we're just going to tap into like something that always exists in Magic +1/+1 counters and let that be a thing.
Interesting. So yeah, let's get the card.
The green white card is Halia, Ascendant Cadet. 2 green white white for a 3/3.
Hmm.
Legendary creature, human soldier. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever one or more creatures you control with a +1/+1 counter on them deal combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Hmm.
Cool text box I do not think the statting and the mana cost work out to make me think that I am going to succeed in making that text box cool.
Which means that maybe there are a lot of cards that care about counters. Like if I have like 10 cards in my deck that add counters,
Put counters on themselves, yeah.
that second ability starts to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like drawing 3 extra cards in a green white deck is like massive. Green white normally can't draw any extra cards.
Mm-hmm. For this card to work, you're going to have your turns 1 through 4. You're going to have to be generating counters before this card even hits.
Yeah.
Even though this card's a self engine and can provide the counters on its own, like you're going to need like maybe some artifacts that like their X cost artifacts that ETB with counters, or like some
modular from
spells that put
Mirrodin.
counters on things,
creatures that
stuff
naturally
like that.
have counters. Yeah, hydras.
Okay, would you like to put 1 on your excitement again?
Yeah, I'm pretty skeptical of this.
I will. I will also put 1.
Or I guess I shouldn't say skeptical because that's not what I'm doing here. With excitement, I'm saying like, is this novel? No. Is this set uniquely set up to make this a cool experience? No. That's a 1.
It's kind of. Are you going into this draft thinking, "Oh man, I hope I get to build a green white deck"? Definitely not.
All right. If you are green white, is it likely that you're doing counters? This card says you are.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else in this set says you are, but I don't think it's a 1 because I feel like the messaging is such that like, what can green white do if not this?
Do I think I'll have creatures with counters on them? Yeah, for sure. How successful do I think I'm going to be with those creatures with counters on them? Do we want to factor that into accuracy? Like, accuracy includes like how likely am I to be doing this, and it's the best thing I could be doing, and I'm winning games because I'm doing it.
Part of accuracy is like I opened a very good white angel and a very good green Kavu, and then I just drafted a bunch of other green cards. How likely is it that I'm actually playing counters in my successful deck?
Mm-hmm.
You know, will there be just naturally enough support percolating that it'll work?
I'm leaning towards 2.
Yeah.
3 just seems, especially considering what we've ranked as 3 so far, this seems less likely than all of those.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do 2. I feel like there must be, if they put this card in there that only works with +1/+1 counters, there must be another 10.
I have no doubt that I'm going to have a green white deck that puts counters on things and I'll be attacking. I'm just not sure it's going to be good, and I'm not sure that I wanted I'm not sure that ending up there was a successful draft, right?
Yeah, and I guess leading into like our third category here, synergy. This has to be synergistic because it's so bad at everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that exciting, and it often doesn't work and has not worked in the past. So, like, if they're saying this is what the thing is, it's saying you better see 10 cards that care about counters or put counters or whatever else, or else your deck's not going to work, or this color pair is not going to work. So it's at least a 3 for synergy for me.
So I think you clicked into exactly why I'm thinking potentially a 5 here, of just like this makes the cards that like that card that says put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. It makes me want that card. It makes me want like 3 mana like a 3 mana 0/0 that enters with 2 counters. Like I want that card if it has like flying or something, you know. I don't want it if it doesn't have flying, but there are cards that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look out for these cards because they have to exist in this set, or else this card is useless.
Yeah. This card is only good in a synergy deck.
Mm-hmm.
And this archetype, counters are kind of good just in a curve out sense of like 2, 3, 4, 5, turns 2, 3, 4, 5. If I'm making Travel Prep was a classic +1/+1 counter card that wasn't part of an archetype, it was just a standalone very good card. Put a counter on 2 creatures, put a counter on 2 creatures again. Like that was just really good for killing your opponents really fast. That's like +1/+1 counters are naturally very good. They're a good part of Magic. But +1/+1 counters as an archetype is where the struggle has been. So I would say that I'm not quite at a 5, but I could go 4. Like I could see this card exists because we're expecting to support this archetype.
All right, let's lock it in at 4. And now we get to go on to the enemy color pairs. White, black, go wide. Assemble the largest battlefield in the system and conquer your opponents with sheer numbers. I like that pitch. Like it makes me feel that like imperial kind of style of like,
Okay.
okay, there's a
Warhammer.
world with these pitches,
Yeah.
you know? Good
Yeah.
pitch. Good simple pitch.
A lot of times we see like attrition stuff in black white, which is my current vote for the oneiest black white archetype you could have,
Mhm.
of like, hey, sack a couple of your creatures, play all crappy creatures, and then eat them. Like
Yep.
that's the boring thing that they dodged here. And that black is in go wide is making me think of like rat tokens or like little
Mhm.
disposable decayed buddies or creatures that die and come back once or whatever, which are all believable things and could be pretty fun. Like going a little bit wide. I mean, going wide is quite fun. Having your 7
Mhm.
creatures to your opponent's 3. It's like, well, I have a lot of different avenues to win. I just have to find what the best one is. Yeah, decent start.
Our archetype uncommon for this is Servandum the Lucent. 2 white, black, black for a 4/4. Legendary creature, human knight. It has death touch and lifelink.
Hmm.
And whenever it enters or attacks, other creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain death touch until end of
Hmm.
turn. That is a reward for creating a bunch of 1/1s, for sure.
Yeah, enters or attacks. That's interesting. So I get to get the heat started the turn before this guy comes down. Ideally, my opponents block with 1 or 2 creatures, which die because of I'm giving everybody death touch. Now, Servandum themselves can jump in there and start beating people up. And it's really valuable for Servandum to be in combat because it has lifelink on 4 power, which is just like a
Mhm.
huge number on a lifelink creature.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a creature that can theoretically it's going to survive some attacks. Like this guy is going to
Yeah.
get in and it's going to be a positive attack for you to be attacking with him, which is really relevant on this type of card.
Yeah. And
Eh,
if it weren't for the death touch, like it granting death touch, like it would be more likely that my opponent has enough blockers
Yep.
because they could be eating my little creatures or making like nice trades or whatever. But because the heat is already on turn 5 I slam this down and attack with 2 or 3 guys. My opponent's either already at 8, which is great, or all their creatures are dead and they traded off with all my creatures, which is also great because I have a 4/4 lifelinker.
Mhm.
Impressive card that fits an archetype, which is what you want.
Yeah. If I'm doing what this archetype's supposed to be doing, and then I cast this on turn 5, I'm feeling in a great spot, you know?
Mhm.
Like, oh, this was exactly the thing I wanted because I've been doing this go wide strategy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so excitement. This is medium to high, I would say.
I like the card. I like the idea of going wide. I think it's a 3 for me, but
Okay.
like a very strong endorsement
A
3.
3 in bold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I can believe that. I don't know of anything naturally in the set that is going to make this like, oh, Edge of Eternities to go wide deck that was so sick. Like, there's nothing natural to like Void or I guess Void likes chump attacks. Warp probably makes creatures. Spaceships are not really go wide.
I was just thinking like the spaceships being able to like crew your stations in the go wide sense, like that's interesting, right?
Yeah, Vondom shows up, doubles everyone's power, then you just like go from 0 to 12 on a space station.
I'm just thinking that there's probably some black white space station that is really cool, and then you draft that and you get to play this deck, and that's where the excitement is.
Yeah, there's something like that's part of the set that is really good for.
Mhm.
All right, so yeah, not a 5. I really like Vondom.
You can give it a 4.
Yeah,
I
okay.
won't judge you.
All right. Accuracy, am I going to be doing this? As far as we know, yeah.
Yeah. The go wide archetype is generally successful, I feel like. Like, am I raising this up to from a 4 to a 5 for some reason?
Mm,
And
okay.
I think there's nothing for me here that gets me up to a 5 as far as like I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be successful every time, and like I'm going to feel like I didn't make a mistake. You know, I'm going to feel like this draft decision was a good decision. Where like
Hmm.
there's going to be those games where like you just don't make enough tokens and you cast this on turn 5, and then you kind of just like buff, like you said, you kind of buff your 3/3 or your 4/4, and you're kind of just the white black fair deck.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to see that happening a non-zero amount of the time.
Hmm.
And that's where like I think it sits at a 4, where it's like most of the time I'm gonna
Okay.
plan to be the go wide strategy and I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, and maybe part of the thing that's eating at the accuracy here is that sometimes I think the black white deck may actually be the stereotypical attrition deck in this set
Hmm.
because of warp and void. A bunch of those black cards probably want a long game. Synergy, does this make cards better? Do bad cards become good when you're playing with this deck? 3-ish, I would say. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
All right, blue red. What do we got?
Blue red artifact aggro. Play cheap artifacts you've uncovered on your travels to quickly overpower the field with supreme synergies.
How do we feel about artifact aggro versus artifact control?
We said it before. There's gonna be artifacts in a space theme set. It just makes,
Yeah.
or blue robots makes too much sense. I'm open minded, but I really think I have to wait and just see what the card is. There's
Station warp. I guess landers. Landers are artifacts, so that's the
yeah.
set specific thing that really matters here. Stations don't feel like they're that relevant for aggro, though maybe that's wrong. Maybe they designed around that. Warp. Who knows? Warp is just a generic thing.
Our card is Anon Uthros Exile. It's a 1/3 for 1 blue red. Legendary creature, Jellyfish Advisor. It has flying, and whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature.
Hmm. This is a lot like Lost Caverns of Ixalan. The blue red card there
Hmm.
was 2 mana 2/2 with this. Oh, but it could only buff pirates. Here I can buff anything I want.
Hmm.
Captain Storm, Cosmium Raider. And that was a successful card and a very successful archetype. I played the mono, all 1, 2, 3 drop artifact deck in LCI very often, successfully.
This is the context that makes sense for the set. Like you said, you brought in landers. They're an
Yeah,
artifact token.
yeah,
Those ETB, you put a counter on this creature, make it a 2/4. Now it's a really good blocker, and it's just going to become a better and better attacker as the game goes on.
yeah. If I have 2 or 3 creatures out, if I have a lot of robots, I have a lot of artifact creatures. Naturally, I could play artifact creature, and then basically it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it, sort of.
Hmm. What is red good at? Red is good at being aggressive. What is blue good at? Blue is good at evasion. If we
Hmm.
put those together and just make an aggressive archetype, like
Yeah,
that, I think is where blue red excels, and that's where it should be spending its time rather than these kind of like janky, hard to put together like spells matter, drawing 2 cards matter kind of things.
yeah. Drawing 2 cards, playing 2 cards, stuff like that. Yeah, this set naturally supports it. There are multiple artifact types in the main mechanics, so I will have enough artifacts. And that's more on the accuracy side. But do I want to do it? This card isn't that exciting by itself. Like the text on it is a version of this has existed in a previous blue red card,
Yeah.
and 1/3. It comes down a little bit later even. But other than that, yeah, this seems cool.
Hmm. I think I'm at a 2 for excitement just because
Oh, okay.
it's not super like, and it's not super novel, but it's not actively bad, right? Like I'm not looking to draft this archetype necessarily based on what I've been given so far.
Aggro typal stuff is like a little more exciting than like the control version because the
Yep.
control version feels dominated. What are your good cards? What are the most powerful cards in your deck? That's what's going to matter. And the synergies are secondary. Whereas with aggro, you better have your synergy straight or else your deck doesn't work and then
Hmm.
you fail. I think I'll go 3. I want to take my chances.
All right.
Accuracy 4,
4?
5.
Would you even go up to 5? Because like
I could believe
we've
5.
seen it before, it was successful before. We have this
Yeah.
very similar ingredients to make it successful again.
Multiple set mechanics work with it. What are the other blue red things I'm going to try to do in this set that wouldn't be this? So maybe I'm trying to play some of the double spell cards. I'm trying to play some of the landfall cards. No, not really. I guess if there is some like slow space station deck that I want to use blue and red cards to build, this would not be there. But no, I'm okay with 5 if you want 5.
Yep. I'll lock into 5.
All right. Synergy. This does make other cards better.
Hmm.
Like this guy's not an artifact himself, which is, that internal balance of like, I can't have the 23 artifact deck, but I can try to get the 14 artifact deck maybe.
I'm wanting landers in a different way than the other decks are wanting landers. Does that mean I want different lander cards? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And it means that landers are like if you have no synergy, the landers like we've talked about hit a odd timing thing where they're not very good for a good chunk of the game. And here they stay good for you the whole time, which is awesome. Just like with the
Yeah.
landfall deck. I mean, it's like the landfall deck, but with the other half of what landers do.
hmm I think I'm landing at about a 4 here.
Okay, seems good.
Oh.
Man, got to listen to the audio version of the story to get
Mm.
that pronunciation. Like the apostrophe is normally like a stop, like the kind of Klingon like throaty glottal like tongue sort of sound, but with all those M's, I don't know how you generate that sound.
Mhm.
And on.
This is the type of apostrophe that, as a custom designer, you kind of avoid because it puts just like unnecessary stress on the transporting of like file information and like it'll mess up cards.
Yeah.
So like
Every
what
apostrophe
Wizards,
costs you
yeah,
10 seconds of your life. Yeah.
exactly. Wizards is kind of flexing on us with this kind of apostrophe.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right, our black green archetype
Yeah.
is graveyard. Who would have thought? Oh my god. Salvage long forgotten ships and fallen warriors with a graveyard strategy that keeps you that keeps you coming back. Are the descriptions getting like jazzier as we go on? Like
Keeps you
somebody
coming back.
started
I
off
like
and they
it.
were like tired and then they came back to write and they're like, "Oh no, wait, I'm getting this. I understand it now."
Yeah, they could have given us like 3 more words on the second spell archetype to really tease us
Yeah.
and thrill us.
Like this now they're throwing in puns. Come on.
Kind of like the +1/+1 counters, this is like the default archetype for this color pair.
Mhm.
I guess Void exists, but otherwise there doesn't seem to be that much in the set that supports graveyards.
The like salvage long forgotten ships. I know there's space stations in this set.
Yeah.
None of the archetypes have really hinted at space stations being a go-to.
Yeah, it feels like I'm gonna have 2 in my deck. Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
sound like I'm gonna have 8 in my deck or whatever.
if the graveyard deck is for some reason getting me like to more consistently have a space station on the battlefield, like I'm kind of interested now.
One of the things about, like, bringing back a spaceship is that, like, reanimating a spaceship is not good. Like,
No.
you've only paid, like, half the cost by reanimating it. You still have to tap a million creatures in order to
hmm
activate it.
Yeah, and how much board impact does it even have once you get it on there?
Yeah, so, like, I would much rather just reanimate a random 5/5 than
hmm
the average spaceship. Let's hear that card because this is firmly in the default zone.
Okay. Seed Ship Brood Tender, black and a green for a 2/3. Creature insect citizen. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards. Then it has 3 black green. Sacrifice this creature. Return target creature or spacecraft card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery.
Interesting. So this is, except for the word spaceship on here, this is like a full-on core set card.
This is hilarious to me. So I think it was Outlaws. Literally, the 2 cards were a 2 mana spell that milled you and
Yeah.
a 5 mana spell that reanimated them. And they're like, well, we can't do 2 archetypes this time. So we're just going to smush both those cards together and it actually is not a problem.
Yeah, and like black green had the Broodheart, which was like surveil one every turn and then sacrifice this to return a creature or vehicle from your graveyard.
hmm
Not to say that this card is not useful, but excitement, that kind of stuff is like pretty one for me.
hmm Yeah, I'm at a 1. Initially, when we first started doing this, it was a graveyard thing, and you're like, graveyard will always get me, so I'm giving it a 2. And I guess you've been
Hmm.
worn down enough. Now that we've been doing this activity, it's been detrimental to your graveyard archetype enjoyment.
Yeah, and this is a less exciting graveyard card than average, and a less
hmm
exciting set for doing graveyard stuff than average.
2/3 is a good blocker, though.
Yeah, it's a very solid card. If you're playing blue black, you want it. Unlike like the blue white card, that blue white card. If I'm playing some like balmy blue white control deck, I don't want their gold card. There's
Yep.
no black green deck that does not want this card. This is a good
hmm
card in every deck.
How are you feeling about accuracy?
I am skeptical. There must be some other mill cards or whatever.
hmm You're gonna have all the pieces. I don't feel like that's the question here. I think the question with the reanimator strategy is always, is what you're reanimating worth the time?
Yeah, yeah.
I think Aether Drift had that vehicle that like came in and destroyed it, so like it cycled, You were
Yeah.
the only deck that wanted it because the mana cost was so
Yep.
intensive,
Yep.
and it had a great effect on it.
Like that's the kind of thing where bringing like there were a bunch of like ETB vehicles in that set that were great to bring back.
Hmm.
No, Void doesn't really work because Void doesn't put it in the graveyard. Void just leaves it in exile. Or sorry, Warp.
Warp,
I
yeah.
keep confusing Void and Warp. Yeah, so this is 2 or 3 for me.
I'm gonna give it a 3 just because like there is something to be some credence to a graveyard strategy is always gonna do the graveyard thing.
Once we get into twos to me sometimes feel like I'm naturally going to be trying to incorporate other colors because this is not
Mhm.
enough of a strategy, and I just want high power cards. Like
Okay.
I'm dropping into the danger zone where my deck doesn't do anything, and so I need to like use lander tokens to splash red to have some green creatures that can like give me my white bomb that I drafted.
You sold me. I'll do 2 as well.
Synergy. This card is
The
good in any deck. It's not particularly made better by cards you're going to pick. I guess if you have cycling giant cards, sometimes those are okay, but yeah, this is also low for me.
mm, what are you thinking? One or 2 here?
If we're getting a one, it's probably this. Like
There's
this,
always that inherent synergy of like thing in graveyard, get it back. I don't know. Let's give it a 1.
yeah.
It's not speaking to me.
I'm still going to play my Surveil cards whether or not I have this. Yeah.
All right, 2 more left.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna tackle red white. Red white is the space station's archetype.
Mm.
Station your spacecrafts by tapping creatures, then reap the rewards of your dedicated crew.
Mm. Okay.
This is interesting because it has the chance to be really exciting as like a
Yeah.
cool, space stations are enabled if I play this color. If I want to play space stations in the space set,
Yeah.
this is the thing I'm gonna get to play.
Yeah. Okay. So this is one that, at least in the first read before we get to the card, is like naturally good excitement. A thing I can
Yeah.
only do in this set. I can't do this in any other set. And then does it work or not? That's a question mark still. We'll think about that more. Does it seem like it conceptually works? Well, my Boros deck, what does that want? It wants to get a bunch of creatures out. What are creatures good for?
Mm-hmm.
Crewing stations. What are aggressive creatures extra good at? Crewing stations. Like my 3 power guy, the turn he comes out, everyone their first year of service, they're crewing a station. Then on their second turn alive, they get to attack. My 2/2 that was good early is now kind of blank, so it's just going to be crewing every turn or stationing every turn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is high novelty and seems like it works with the rules of Magic, I guess.
All right. That's the dream. Works with the rules for Magic. And I think what's exceptionally appealing is that like they found a way to do like this red white's going to be an aggro archetype almost certainly,
Yeah.
but this is an aggro archetype that like is doing the set mechanic thing and feels like is also like not ham fisting into like this red white's finally unique or whatever.
Mm.
I'm getting to do my aggro thing and that aggro thing feels different for this set.
Yeah, the slider of how space station-y can be higher and lower for different Boros decks.
Mhm.
One deck might not have that many good stations or might be just like good at all out attacking, and the other deck might be like, oh, I actually got a bunch of good stations. I'm going to be, crewing a bunch of stuff. Like it feels like the maybe not every Boros deck will do this, but every Boros deck is compatible with it at least.
Mhm.
Um,
All right. And I'm pretty into this archetype uncommon, so let's get into it.
all right.
Sammy Ship's Navigator is 2 red white for a 2/4 legendary creature human artificer. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token.
Hmm. Yeah. And this is perfect in that flex zone where this
Yeah.
is like good in a deck where you played a 2 and a 3 drop and you attacked with both. And good if you played like a 2 drop, a space station, and then Sammy. Because
Hmm.
Sammy and that 2 drop can both crew the space station and you get your robot.
This is 100% a deck that I actively hope is good.
Yeah.
I hope it's draftable. I hope it works how it's being pitched. Like, I think the excitement is a 5 here for me.
Yeah. Yeah. We haven't given a 5, and this is the most 5 of all the things that we've looked at for sure.
Hmm.
Accuracy, I think this starts at 3 and goes up. I don't know how high, but it can't go below 3 for me.
I agree with that. I think the accuracy hinges on how viable are space stations going to be in this set, right? Which is a huge unknown for me.
Yeah. How many can you
Yep.
actually put in a deck? Is it actually possible to have 5 in a deck? That even feels like a stretch.
Hmm.
Could you have 5 vehicles in your Boros deck? But it's easier. That it's more functional than vehicles, I would say. Um, are there even 5 to draft? Those are the questions.
So what's funny is like this category, we're seeing how much it hinges a little bit on the description. Because if it was red white tapped creatures, like this would be a
Mm.
5, right?
Oh yeah, slam
But it's red
5.
white space stations,
Yeah.
and I don't know about that. So maybe it's a 4 because like I'm confident that Arcoon's going to trigger, and I believe that I'm going to be using space stations as an alternative
Mm.
trigger mechanism.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not convinced I'm going to be a space stations deck.
You will be able to crew stations, it feels like, but whether you'll
Hmm.
have enough and whether they'll be good enough, we don't know. So synergy, this is maybe where that hurts you, where like Boros is just naturally good at crewing space stations.
Hmm.
That's a little tough because now is it still synergy based? I don't know. Are there going to be cards that like I crew what that we saw with pilots? I crew space stations as though my power was too higher. Will they print that card? I don't know.
You have the 2 red 4/2. I feel like that
Hmm.
card is not usually super great in most sets. Are you more excited to draft the 2 red 4/2
Hmm.
in this set because of the space station game plan? It's a 3 for me on that aspect. A couple of the Boros cards that I don't normally want to play are a little bit better, and I feel a
Yeah.
little bit better about playing them. But I'm not necessarily seeking them out either because my other cards are going to be just as good at what that's doing. And maybe that means it's a 2?
But like even just the dream that I might put 5 space stations in a Boros deck already has to be kind of in the synergy zone to me.
All right, I respect it.
So I'm 3. You can be 2 if you
All right.
like.
No, I'll be 3. Ballpark buddies. That's probably trademarked. I don't think I can say that.
From Doughboys or whatever.
I've been way into that podcast.
Oh, you've been listening to a ton of Doughboys. All right.
Oh yeah, it's like game over. So now I got all of his like catchphrases stuck in my head at like all
Okay.
times. So that's terrible.
100%. Who are
Our
you, more of
last
a Weiger or more of a Mitch?
uh hmm man, that's a good question.
You're from the Midwest, so you don't have like a coastal allegiance. You're the perfect test subject.
the podcast thrives because both of them are on it.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know. I go through phases where sometimes Mitch is the funny one that day, and sometimes
Mm.
Weiger's the funny one that day. I don't think I have a favorite.
All right, all right. I'm pretty much Team Weiger.
Yeah.
Nick is just he's my kind of guy. First of all,
Well,
just like keeping a show running. That's just who I am.
I was just about to say, like, you are the Nick Weiger of Beacon, right? Like, you just make sure that the ball is constantly rolling. There's an episode coming out. I'm the
Yeah.
Mitch of this relationship. I just show up and talk into a microphone. All right, I'm a Spoon Nation then.
There you
I'm
go.
declaring it.
All right. Last archetype.
Blue green is the ramp archetype.
Mm.
Explore Sathera's furthest regions and worlds by controlling the largest monsters and ships in the system.
So this is another kind of default one,
Yeah.
basically on the same level as Graveyard.
Hmm. It doesn't even reference landers, which is surprising to me, but I'm sure landers are gonna key into
Yeah.
this archetype.
So this is providing yet another how are landers functional, right? And
Hmm.
this is saying like, because you need humongous amounts of mana. The Gruul deck is going to get just enough mana to finish the game. Is the set up for it? Landers, yeah. Warp, I think so, yeah. Because warp is kind of like cycling. It's a little bit of hey, I need something to do early and something big to do later, like a land cycler or something. Warp is pretty good for that. Space stations is mixed because space stations need to be playing creatures. Am I going to be able to play enough creatures while I'm doing this deck? I don't know.
One thing I'm kind of gonna be watching for is like the teamer colors seem like they would all just work together. Like you just build teamer landers, and you
Yeah.
got aggressive creatures, you got color fixing, you got big stuff for the end game, and you have all this landfall value.
All right, what's our card?
Our archetype uncommon is Biomechan Engineer, green blue for a 2/2, Insect Artificer. When this creature enters, create a lander token. You can tap 8 mana to draw 2 cards and create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Invokers are back.
Yeah, this is
8
quite a
mana.
button.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Hearthstone terms, you always have this ability called your hero power, which is like usually something kind of minor, but it's something you can hit once a turn, and so you want to hit it as often as possible. This is not 1 mana. This is 8 mana, but I want to hit this 8 mana as often as possible because I draw 2 cards and make an untapped blocker, like make a chump blocker.
Yeah, that's a nice reward for getting 8 lands into play.
Yeah, not a tap ability, not a sorcery speed ability. As long as I can get up to those 8 mana rafters, I can feel safe.
Does that huge activation make you any more excited about the archetype, though?
I mean, this card makes me excited because this card seems quite good.
Yeah.
That they put it at 8 shows some faith that we're going to get to 8.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a trap or is it actually possible? I'm not sure yet.
To be fair to the exercise, I think while it probably pushes me up to like a 2 on the excitement scale, it definitely pushes me above a 1. I think I'm a little unwilling to go all the way up to 3.
I can agree with that.
I guess the accuracy question is literally how confident are you that you can get to 8 lands? Because this, to me, this card is telling me that I'm going to get to 8 lands.
I'm expecting there to be other ways to get some landers, so other ways to get to, 8 mana on turn 6 or 7 instead of on turn 8 or 9.
Yep.
What else could I be doing in blue green but doing this? Splashing 2 colors is what I could be doing, which this is also compatible with.
Yeah, turn 2 you play this. Turn 3 you can play a 2-drop. Maybe it makes another lander, and then you also get a land into play. So then you're on, or sorry, that's turn 4. Turn 4, turn 5. I don't know. It's probably working. You're probably curving out. Are you surviving long enough to cast your big stuff? Doing all this lander junk?
Whether you built for this archetype or not, that's always going to be a question with your Simic deck. So, maybe 4.
I'm gonna go 3.
You think you could do other stuff with the Simic deck?
I'm gonna end up in Teamer so much. That's what I'm thinking. Is like you're just gonna splash a card every time.
Synergy. Does this make cards better? Not really.
Nope. Landers are gonna do what landers do, and then they can. You don't even need to play a 7-drop. You got your 2-drop guy that makes you robots.
It is an escape valve for landers, like we saw with the other lander archetypes. Like my blue-white second spell deck or my blue-black artifact control deck is not going to make that much use of landers. My +1/+1 counter deck is not going to care about landers, so it doesn't feel 1 level to me. Yeah, I guess 2 is fine.
Sure. Going for 2. And that's it.
Alrighty, yeah. What's your standout?
Red Black stands out to me as just like that archetype uncommon. Just seems such a fantastic car. I love blue white just because I'm a sucker for that specific type of archetype uncommon. But I think red white's got to be the standout archetype, right? Like that is just everything. That is the archetype that for me is screaming like, come play my set because you get to do this. One of the things that's surprising me is like, I don't think a lot of the other archetypes are doing that. None of the other archetypes are screaming to me, here's why you want to come play my space theme set. And maybe I think that's where the biggest miss is. What about you? Anything standing out to you?
Yeah. I am curious if they finally make +1/+1 counters work. Well,
The
because
dark horse.
I'm coming off of Final Fantasy where there was like the is it cast expensive non-creature spells deck, which seemed like the most impossible thing ever. But they just devoted enough cards to it that it worked, and it was a really fun deck, and you're playing cards in new ways, and it was great. Is this just like a full fraud, or is +1/+1 counters actually going to function?
Ooh, what do you think about going back to just 1 gold card to signal the archetype? Because that's a pretty big shift.
Yeah, it's been an interesting thing. I've played a bunch of sets now that have double gold cards.
Yeah.
And they make it more fun to play 2 colors for sure.
Hmm. One of the things that
Yeah.
stood out to me is that like how often somebody would play both the gold cards for their colors
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
good their deck would seem. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, how did this happen? I'm like, oh, it's because they're both uncommons. It's not
Yeah.
unreasonable to get both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes the draft kind of funny because like, if you're not a set that has dual lands naturally, like Dragonstorm, Final Fantasy, they have, common duals in the packs. Having double gold cards can float those gold cards basically forever. They go, 14th pick because, only one person can ever possibly play them and maybe nobody plays them,
Hmm.
which is the normal gold card problem with Cube. If you have 6 gold cards per color pair, I think overall I have enjoyed the double gold card experiment. And I kind of missed it here because I feel like for some of these archetypes, I could have gotten more excited for a second spell. Or I could have
Yeah.
gotten more excited for artifact control if I could see a second gold card that really
Hmm.
advertised it.
And I think sometimes it's hard to get all of the things that an archetype really needs to get going
Yeah.
into one creature or spell. Sometimes you need a creature and a spell to really
Yeah.
flesh it out completely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you also maybe lose out on the ability to do stuff that is gold, but isn't archetypey enough. Like when you have two of them, one of them can just be like, here's a cool removal spell that fits in this set. And the other one is the archetypey one. But here, would you do just your one gold card as like a removal spell? Probably not. I
Hmm.
don't know.
No.
You kind of need them all to be permanents. Is that true?
In this case, they were all permanents. In fact, they are all creatures.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I do like having a creature in your Arcoon slot just because creatures are very playable. So like as a new Magic player, like or not a new Magic player, but like somebody picking up a draft set for the first time, like a lot of the mistakes that new players often make is like drafting not enough creatures. And then these Arcoons are there to help direct more inexperienced drafters. So they're going to naturally gravitate towards them. And so if they are a creature, you're kind of solving two problems at once, where it's like you're drafting the Arcoons so you know what colors you want to be in, you know what those colors are doing theoretically,
Yeah.
and you've increased your creature count, which are all things that like a new, more inexperienced drafter needs to get pushed in the
Yeah.
right direction.
Yeah, if we think that draft archetypes are like a really important part to message, the double gold card and like having a lot of them be creatures is a great way to like disseminate that knowledge more quickly to players who are experiencing it for the first time. Not like new
Hmm.
players like people who haven't played much Magic, but just people who haven't played the set. You have
Yep.
2 chances of seeing something that teaches you. If you see both of them, you have a really good idea. For some of these cards like Alpha Rail, you might not really know what are we doing here.
Hmm.
I think Edge of Eternity doesn't have common duels, maybe because of lander tokens. So maybe they didn't want to have quite as much gold in the set.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm really curious why they stopped it. I wonder if that information's out there. If someone's found an article or ask Mark Rosewater or whatever, let me know because I want to know.
And a lot of times Rosewater does like a Vision design podcast where he interviews whoever like
Yeah.
led the thing. So I'm sure that the content's out there.
Before we get out of here, I want to tell people about our current design challenge. We do these every month. This is like a great way to get involved with the podcast. And this time around, we've got Objection, design a card. What the connection to August is, I don't know. Design a card showcasing the new keyword objection. Now, we said keyword. If you want to do ability word, we're also allowing that. But we need something, written on the card in italics or whatever, or like in the rules that describes what objection means. This is, kind of a flavorful courtroom sort of thing. We got someone who's maybe starting law school in a month, so we're making a
Who could
tribute to
that
them.
be?
Yeah. What is it? I guess you're not a lawyer yet, so you don't necessarily know. But what does objection mean to you?
So in like a courtroom setting, as an attorney, you're able to like attorneys argue in two offsetting things, right?
Hmm.
So as one attorney that is making a statement or interrogating a witness, interrogating is not the right word, but interviewing a witness, then you as the other attorney, your basically only form of like interrupting that attorney is to use the word objection, and then the jury or the judge has to like remove that from the record if they decide to uphold that objection, right? And you can object for a variety of reasons. One of the most interesting things that ever happened to me is in a previous job I had to actually testify at a hearing. And my attorney, who was kind of talking to me, he's like, here's what you're going to go through. Like, here's some questions that I think they might ask you. And he was like, now, if I think they ask you a really hard question, I'm going to give you more time to think about it because I'm going to object. And then whether or not the judge is going to allow that objection or not, I'm just going to object so that you have a little time to compose yourself before you answer the question. And so I thought that was really interesting. But I think an important aspect of it is that like interruption. You are stopping somebody from doing something, whether you uphold it or not, and they get to continue doing their thing. But for a brief moment, they have to stop what they're doing, and everyone has to just think, okay, is that all right? Is that okay what we're doing here? So,
okay.
How do you capture that in a magic card without it being just the worst onboard trick nonsense? Good luck.
Well, maybe to help people get started figuring out what they want to do for objection, we've also got some bonus points, which are also terms that I don't really know. Party of the first, the card should be or care about a cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard. Those are the party mechanic from Zendikar Rising. And then legal brief, 4 lines of rules text or less, not counting reminder text. And be sure to get in that card by August 29th, or maybe a day or two later, depending on when we record. And that's about it for the podcast for the week. Hop on Discord. That's where you submit stuff. There's also some other channels going on. There's like if you're interested in Cube, we got a Cube episode brewing in there. Anything you want to tell people about?
Yeah. So, M-Dub's Movie Corner. I went to see, I am not a Marvel follower. Like I don't keep up on the movies or the universe, but I did go and see Fantastic Four because.
All right. You're cool. That's fine. You could.
Yeah. Just so everyone knows, I am a hater. No, but I went to see Fantastic Four because period piece plus Pedro Pascal. Yeah, I'm in. Let me check that out.
All right.
And it's been 2 days now, and I'm still like, I wasn't blown away after the movie, but it's been 2 days, and that movie's still in my head. So
okay.
I think that says a lot. Like that movie left an impact on me. Like as far as just like, hey, this is a good piece of entertainment right here. So I would encourage everybody to go watch it. Yeah.
All righty. I haven't seen it yet. I saw Superman, which was great.
Yeah, I did not see Superman.
We're 2 ships passing in the opinion night.
Yep.
I just watched a YouTube video about pronunciation involving the Fantastic Four.
What?
Do you say fantastic or fantastic? Yeah, anyhow, meet us on the Discord. And also, thanks so much for listening.